Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Jason Laurie. I'm the co-owner of Lighthouse Practice Management Group. And today's lecture is going to be called Get Found on the Web, 10 Steps to Improve Your Web Presence that are nearly free. First of all, let's go ahead and discuss what we're going to learn today. I'm actually going to teach you how to improve your organic listings. We'll describe what that means in a little bit. Improve your local listings, and we're going to give you some help with AdWords, and we're going to do it with assuming that you have a budget of $0 or maybe just a little bit more than that. So most of the techniques that we talk about today will be absolutely free, and I think you'll get a lot out of it. If you just put a little bit of time in, you can improve your web presence and make a successful business. So who are the major players in the web market or web marketing? Really, there's two that can be broken out. There is the search engines. Certainly, you know Google. They're the big daddies. You also have Yahoo, Bing, Ask. There are a few out there, but Google by far dominates the search engine market. The rest are in this category called social networking. And within social networking, we have Google to an extent, Facebook, WordPress or blogs in general, Twitter, YouTube, which is video social networking, and I'm using ratedentist.com here, but the general category is just reviews, online reviews. So let's talk about this behemoth a little bit, Google. Google, of course, everybody knows is a search engine, but really that's not the business that they're in. If we look at all of the different products that they have, certainly they're worth some significant amount of money, $4.3 billion in sales and an $18.5 billion net worth, and I'm estimating that they'll have a $50 billion net worth by 2012 with the release of the Google operating system. So where do they get most of that money? Most of it comes from advertising. $2.97 billion they receive from advertising. They receive $1.7 billion from product sales. Most of that is selling more space on things like your Gmail account or if you're using Google Documents. Some of it's coming from the Android operating system, which was just released and is being put on mobile phones worldwide for that matter. In fact, I have an Android. They also get $1.1 billion from infrastructure. They actually own a significant amount of the internet backbone. This is where the data goes from your computer to a central servers and is processed and sent throughout the web. The internet backbone, they own $1.1 billion of that. And they also sell some data. They get about $7.3 billion just from selling data, analytics on people and how they shop. So that accounts for $4.3 billion in sales. Google is a monster. They're huge. I don't think it's hard to say that Google is indeed trying to take over the world. So certainly we want to be able to tap into Google as much as possible. The other player is Facebook. Facebook is pretty amazing. They started out as a niche market, just going after college students, and several years ago they decided to release it to the general public and basically buried MySpace it took a little bit of time, but fairly quickly they buried MySpace. Just some stats on on Facebook. There are more than 400 million active users. To put that in perspective, nearly 30% of your patients use Facebook daily. 50% are active users. They use it every single day. Each user has an average of 130 friends, and people spend over 500 billion minutes per month on Facebook. We're literally wasting away our lives on social networks. And the average person is connected to 60 pages, groups, or events. Interestingly, a new trend, if we look at mobile users, there are over 100 million active mobile users that use it through their smartphone or mobile device. people that use Facebook on their mobile device are twice as more active on Facebook than non-mobile users. So what about this guy here, blogging? Blogging's been around for, nearly a decade now. And basically it's a location for people to create their own newspapers and spread whatever information they choose to spread. WordPress is a social network of sorts. In fact, WordPress is the largest website in the world and contains 202 million internally linked pages. And that's the reason why you want to be involved in WordPress, because we'll find out a little bit later, linked pages are really helpful when you want to get indexed by Google. And again, I'll try to define some of these terms like indexing and linked pages and SEO as they become more and more important. How about this one, Twitter? Now, to be perfectly honest with you, I just don't get Twitter. Hey, I just went to the bathroom. Let's tweet that out to all my friends. But Twitter has become a huge tool for people to communicate with one another. They use it constantly throughout the day. We've seen a huge increase in the number of text messages that have been sent because of this tool. And in fact, because people are so responsive on Twitter, Twitter was actually able to predict the presidential election prior to the election. By looking at the tweets and the keywords that were in these tweets, they showed Obama as being a huge favor in the election. So we definitely want to get on board on that tool too. And we don't want to make the claim that just because we don't understand something that it's not a tool that we can't use to try to improve our web presence. And here's Rate a Dentist. Now I'm going to use Rate a Dentist mainly because we own the company, but it is a review site. And review sites have become huge as of recent. In fact, they are a social networking site of sorts. And what a huge benefit they are to the consumer. I don't think I've purchased anything in the last 6 months, or certainly haven't had anyone come into my home to do any work without finding what their review was on the internet. Reviews are the land of public opinion, and we want to make sure that we get on board on these things as well. Because this is, in my opinion, the primary method by which people are selecting a dentist. Now, reviews are not just online reviews. Certainly they come through people talking to your patients. So this is a testimonial of sorts, and this should not come as a shock to you that testimonials from existing patients is the way in which most of your patients are coming through the door. This is an extension of that. This is a way to expand your reach and get as many patients as possible using reviews. Now, one thing we didn't talk about, because it's owned by Google's and we're just talking about the players, is YouTube. But we will go through how to use YouTube a little bit later. So this is what the web looks like. We have all these little players, certainly your website, Google, WordPress, review sites, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, AdWords from Google, organic searches from Google, and Google local searches. So we have all of these different sites together that you can use on the internet to try to market your practice. And traditionally, this is what it looks like. Google hooks all this stuff together. Somebody searches for your name on Google. Hopefully they find your web page, so on and so forth. But what we want to do is tap into the power of these additional tools. So not only do we want to have your website and all of these other websites hooked to Google, but we want them hooked together as well. We want WordPress hooked to your website, your review site, your Twitter, your YouTube, your Facebook. We want your review